अंजलि मैडम।
जी सर, यस सर।
चीफ गेस्ट सर से बात हो गई है, अभी वो ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, ही जस्ट लॉगिंग इन। तो
ओके।
आप अटेंडी लिंक पे भी ध्यान रखना, कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि वो गलती से अटेंडी वाले उसमें ज्वाइन हो जाए।
श्योर।
हालांकि ही हैज कंफर्म दैट ही हैज रिसीव्ड द लिंक एंड एवरीथिंग। Sir, good morning.
Morning.
Good
Yeah,
morning.
you're audible and visible, sir. I'm Dr. Namit Gupta. I have been in
Yeah.
touch with you.
Yeah.
Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Upinder Dhar has also joined. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor.
I'm fine. How are you?
Very good, sir. Very good.
So happy Engineers Day to you also.
Thank you.
So I think we can start the program now.
Yes, sir. We can
I'm
start,
ready
sir.
whenever you all are ready.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Happy Engineers Day, sir.
Thank you. Wish you all the same. Yeah.
Master of Ceremony, I would request you to please start the event.
Sure, sir. I'm starting the meeting. A very good morning to our esteemed chief guest, Dr. K. Satnarayana, Director IIT Tirupati, respected Vice Chancellor Sir, Dr. Upinder Dhar, Event Coordinator, Dr. Namit Gupta, respected Deans, Directors, HODs, faculty members, and dear students. I, Dr. Anjali Gupta, welcomes you all for the fourth Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya Oration on the occasion of Engineers Day. It is an honor to welcome our chief guest, Dr. K. N. Satnarayana, on this prestigious virtual event dedicated to the celebrating the legacy and contributions of Bharat Ratna Sir Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya, a visionary who has profoundly shaped the field of engineering and public service in India. To begin our program, let us invoke the divine blessings with the virtual lamp lighting ceremony and Saraswati Vandana. I request the AV team to please play the video.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। या कुन्देन्दुतुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्यापहा।
Thank you. I would request Dr. Namit Gupta, Dean, Faculty of Engineering and Architecture, to join the Honorable Vice Chancellor SVV, Dr. Upinder Dhar, to extend floral welcome in virtual mode to our today's chief guest, Dr. K. Satnarayana. AV team, please play the video. Thank you. We now move on to a segment that pays tribute to the remarkable life and achievements of Sir Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya. Sir Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya, born on September 15, 1861 in Mudenhalli, Karnataka, was a prominent civil engineer and statesman. He belonged to a Tamil Brahmin family whose ancestors had migrated from Mokshagundam in Andhra Pradesh. Visvesvaraya received his early education in Bangalore and later pursued a BA from the University of Madras. He furthered his studies in civil engineering at the College of Science in Pune. Sir Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya received numerous awards for his contributions, including the Bharat Ratna in 1955, the highest civilian honor in India. His legacy is celebrated annually on September 15 as Engineers Day. Let us take a moment to reflect on his extraordinary contributions through a brief biographic movie on his life. AV team, please play the movie.
The lush evergreen forest across the western Ghats in the Shimoga district of Mysore state is famous for its enchanting beauty, beauty that has inspired many an artist and many a poet. Here the river Sharavati plunges down the mountainside with a dizzy rapture, unfolding a glorious spectacle. It is said once here came a man who on beholding this majestic scene exclaimed, "What a waste." An odd comment indeed, but the man who made it was no eccentric. This man was contemplating the invisible power hidden in these mighty torrents. He saw in the falls visions of a myriad canals emerging from a reservoir, visions of hydroelectric power which could turn the giant wheels of industry. This man was an engineer. He was a great engineer. He was Dr. Visvesvaraya. Nestling at the foot of the Nandi Hills in the Chikbalapur Taluk of Mysore state is a little village, Mudenahalli. Here, 100 years ago, in 1861, Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya was born. Visvesvaraya came of a poor family. His mother had to struggle hard to get him educated. It was she who brought him to nearby Chikbalapur for his schooling. From Chikbalapur, young Visvesvaraya migrated to Bangalore for his high school and college education. At the Central College, Principal Waters was proud of this brilliant student. A merit scholarship enabled Visvesvaraya to further his studies at Pune. He came to the College of Engineering, known in those days as the College of Science. Here, under the guidance and care of Principal Theodore Cook, he excelled in his studies and graduated with top honors at the young age of 23. Visvesvaraya got the coveted job that was guaranteed every year to the candidate who topped the list of engineering graduates of the Bombay University. In March 1884, he started his engineering career in the holy city of Nasik on the banks of the river Godavari. Starting as an assistant engineer at Nasik, he rose to the rank of sanitary engineer to the government of Bombay. Many and distinguished were the services he rendered during this period. One of his lasting contributions to the state was the block system of irrigation, which he developed in the Neera Canal area of the Pune district. The object of the system was to distribute the benefits of irrigation over a large number of villages. His passion for statistics and for the intelligent use of these facts and figures were evident in the way he worked out the scheme. One of his engineering achievements was connected with the lake Fife at Khadakwasla. The storage of this lake was insufficient to meet the needs of the Mutha Canal, which supplied water to Pune. The reservoir overflowed every year above the surplus weir. The problem was to increase the storage capacity without raising the dam. Visvesvaraya had the answer. He devised a system of automatic gates which did the trick. These gates have stood the test of time and have been copied in other places too. He took out a patent for the gates, but he refused to ask for or accept any royalty from the government. He always believed in work properly blended with recreation. The result was the Deccan Club, which flourishes to this day. In this good work, he had the blessings and cooperation of such eminent personalities as Mahadev Govind Ranade and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. The year 1909 brought Visvesvaraya to Hyderabad. The Nizam's government secured his services for an important assignment. On the 28th of September 1908, the river Musi, which passes through the city of Hyderabad, was in floods and ravaged the city. In one area alone, known as Kolsawadi, more than 2,000 people were drowned or washed away. Hundreds of buildings were swept away. The state government wanted Visvesvaraya to examine the damage done and to suggest measures to prevent a recurrence of such a catastrophe. After making a survey, he recommended the construction of 2 reservoir dams above the city, one across the river Musi and the other across its tributary, the Isi. Visvesvaraya will be remembered with gratitude by the people of Hyderabad as long as Usman Sagar and Himayat Sagar reservoirs are remembered. Visvesvaraya also prepared a scheme for a modern system of drainage for Hyderabad city. It's a tribute to his foresight that the drainage disposal machinery which he got installed meets the needs of the city even today, when its population has increased threefold. Visvesvaraya also drew up plans for the improvement of the capital city of Hyderabad. His prophecy that when the improvements were carried out, Hyderabad would be able to hold her head high among her sister cities in India has come true today. In the same year 1909, he received a call from the land of his birth, Mysore. The Maharaja of Mysore offered Visvesvaraya the job of chief engineer of the state. One of his greatest achievements as chief engineer was the planning and construction of Krishnaraj Sagar Dam across the river Kaveri. Completed in the year 1912, it was the largest reservoir ever built in India up to that time. If one can only place oneself in that epoch, one can judge what a colossal achievement it was in the context of the times. The estimated cost of the project was over 23 million rupees. Such a large amount the state had never spent before on any single project. Referring to this multi-purpose dam, Gandhiji once said, "Krishnaraj Sagar alone, one of the largest of its kind in the world, would perpetuate the name of Sir Visvesvaraya." The main irrigation canal named after Visvesvaraya passes through a varied landscape, coursing through an artificial tunnel nearly 2 miles long, an engineering feat for that time. The canal has brought prosperity to land which was once barren. It has led to the extensive cultivation of sugarcane, which has made possible a flourishing sugar industry in the state. The sugar factory in Mandya is one of the largest of that class of factories in India. Mandya, which was once a sleepy, undeveloped village, is today a prosperous town, the headquarters of a prosperous district of the same name. Krishnaraj Sagar has thus brought immense prosperity in its wake. It has almost changed the face of Mysore. The Vrindavan gardens below the dam have added enchantment to utility. An enlightened and appreciative Maharaja elevated Visvesvaraya to the position of the Diwan of the state in 1912. Whether as engineer or Diwan, Visvesvaraya's one aim was to develop the state to enable the people to work well, earn well, and live well. The University of Mysore, the first university in any Indian state, came into being in 1916, thanks to Visvesvaraya's persistent endeavors. He also founded the Kannada Literary Academy. Visvesvaraya always felt that industries were the mainstay of the progress and the prosperity of a nation. The sandal oil factory was but one of the many industries introduced by him. Schemes for a host of other industries like soap, metalworks, chrome tanning and sericulture were developed through the Economic Conference, a planning commission for the state which Visvesvaraya formulated. His diwanship in the state was marked by a single-minded devotion to the cause of the progress of Mysore state. Visvesvaraya was connected with the Tata Iron and Steel Company for a number of years. It was perhaps this association that turned his thoughts to the exploitation of iron ore available in the state. With his characteristic drive and energy, he soon set up the Bhadravati Iron and Steel Works. After Visvesvaraya retired from the office of Diwan, the Iron and Steel Works was in a bad state. The world price of iron had fallen. Experts advised the closing down of the enterprise. It was against this background that Visvesvaraya was persuaded in 1923 to take over as chairman of the board of directors. He set about the task of rehabilitating the works with his usual zeal. Soon Bhadravati iron was selling in the USA at competitive rates. To this day, Bhadravati occupies an important place in the industrial map of the country. The remuneration he earned as chairman of the Iron and Steel Works for over 6 years, Visvesvaraya turned over to the state government for the establishment of an occupational institute. Today, this institution is one of the premier polytechnics in the country, imparting instruction in technical subjects like wireless telegraphy, radio engineering and cinematography, to mention but a few. Visvesvaraya's passion for advancing education at all levels knew no bounds. He was president of the court of the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore for a number of years and was responsible for adding the faculties of some branches of engineering to the institute. Even when he was past the biblical span of 70 years and 10, what he sought was not a rest cure, but an action cure. He believed that rural industrialization was the only cure for some of the ills of our rural economy. He prepared a scheme for rural industrialization, which the Mysore government accepted and implemented. Over Over the years, he gave practical schemes or advice for the water supply of many towns in India. He was also responsible for the water supply schemes of Goa, Hyderabad, Sindh and Aden. Visvesvaraya worked incessantly, preparing plans and schemes for the development of the country. He published several books and pamphlets. Waking or sleeping, he had only one thought in his mind: nation building. Visvesvaraya traveled abroad several times. Wherever he went, his one consuming desire was to bring back technical know-how for the development of his own motherland. He gave his invaluable technical advice for the location of one of the colossal projects of recent times, the Ganga Bridge at Mokame in Bihar. He was past 90 when he undertook this work. His deep interest in the industrialization of the country led Visvesvaraya to found the All India Manufacturers Organization in 1941. Its motto, prosperity through industry. He wanted manufacturers in the country to develop initiative and build new industries with the help of modern methods of organization. As the founder president of the organization, Visvesvaraya still keeps in close touch with its activities and gives the organization the benefit of his rich experience and wise counsel. A grateful nation has heaped honors on a man who has served the country in so many spheres. Knighthood, degrees, honoris causa galore. When the centenary of his alma mater, the Central College in Bangalore, was celebrated, he was honored as the oldest and the greatest living alumnus. The highest honor that an Indian citizen could receive, the award of Bharat Ratna, came to him. In the citation, he was hailed as the father of the idea of planned development in India. But all these honors sit lightly on Visvesvaraya's shoulders. Unaffected by all these, he lives today in his Bangalore home without a trace of ostentation. His devoted old secretary still assists him in all his work. Meticulously punctual in his habits, Visvesvaraya keeps himself busy and active, receiving visitors, holding discussions with them, attending social functions. For he thinks with Ulysses, how dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use, as though to breathe were life. The one motto of Visvesvaraya throughout his life has been, work is worship. As this Karma Yogi enters his 100th year.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to invite Dr. Upinder Dhar, our esteemed Vice Chancellor, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning to all of you. I am very much pleased to welcome Dr. K. Satyanarayana Garu to this very important program. And I would like to wish Happy Engineers Day to all the engineers today, the auspicious day, which has been earmarked for this celebration every year. As we have seen in this short film, that the belief work is worship is very well demonstrated by Bharat Ratna Visvesvaraya. He was a great human being, a great contributor, and above all, a great son of the soil. Our life has very significantly changed if we compare it with what it used to be, say, even 50 years back. And if it has changed, the quality has improved a great lot. That is because of the contributions made by engineers. Whether it is buildings, roads, bridges, management of floods, management of other natural calamities, engineers have very significantly contributed to it. Whatever devices or objects we use 24/7, such as vehicles, mobile phones, or anything, most of the things that we use, even a fountain pen, as it has been changing over the period of time, the pen that we are using today, these are all contributions made by engineers, not only in India, all over the world. Therefore, it was very appropriately decided by Government of India to celebrate 15th September as Engineers Day. Unfortunately, many times we have found that youngsters believe that everything has come from the West. We have only been takers. But that is wrong. Therefore, to put it in the right perspective, in our university we decided that we should establish some orations and also celebrate these important days like Engineers Day to educate not only the students but also young faculty about the contributions made by sons and daughters of this great nation. This nation has also produced great engineers like, say, Visvesvaraya, as we have just now seen in this short documentary, great scientists who have made contribution, and their contributions are recognized across the world. So today, every year, we have been celebrating this day, discussing about Bharat Ratna, Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya, and also we have been organizing various lectures by well-known technocrats who share their experiences and make students and our faculty aware about what we have been doing in the country. Therefore, the correct perspective is that no doubt there are many contributions which have happened, or many inventions and discoveries which have happened in the West. But India, our great nation, is no less. In Indian context also, very significant contributions have been made by people that we need to appreciate. It is not that we should only talk about people who are in the West, who were in the West and have made contributions. Of course, whosoever has made contribution, he or she needs to be appreciated, recognized, and we need to talk about their contributions and learn. So with this spirit, this Engineers Day is celebrated every year. We are very happy that today our guest speaker, esteemed speaker, Dr. K.N. Satyanarayana ji is, as in Andhra Pradesh we say Garu, is also an engineer. And our nation is proud of such technocrats, scientists, and contributors in various disciplines. So once again, I wish everyone happy Engineers Day, and I would not like to stand between Dr. Satyanarayana, all of you, including myself. So we are very eager to listen to his thoughts and enrich our wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving a wonderful and insightful welcome address. Our next segment involves introducing our distinguished chief guest. I would like to request Dr. Namit Gupta, Dean Faculty of Engineering and Architecture, to provide us with an introduction to our chief guest.
Yeah, thank you, Anjali ma'am. I'm just sharing my screen. We have with us a very renowned professor and technocrat, Dr. K.N. Satyanarayana, Director, IIT Tirupati. Dr. Satyanarayana is the founding director of IIT Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh, and is currently serving his second term as director. He is on deputation from IIT Madras, where he has been a professor in the Building Technology and Construction Management Division of the Department of Civil Engineering. He has received his BTech degree in Civil Engineering from IIT Madras. He then received MS and PhD degrees with a specialization in construction engineering and management from Clemson University, USA. He has been a faculty member at IIT Madras since 1991. In 2009, he was a visiting professor at Iowa State University, USA. His teaching, research, and consultancy interests are in the areas of project management, construction contracts, construction productivity, construction equipment, C&D waste management, and public-private partnerships. He has published extensively in these areas. He is the recipient of many awards, including the Project Management Institute India Distinguished Scholar Award in 2011. At IIT Madras, he has served as Advisor Alumni Affairs from 2004 to 2009, Chairman Engineering Unit from 2010 to 13, and Chairman of the Implementation Committee for IIT Madras Research Park Phase 2 and 3, which is a 1.2 million square feet facility. He has also served on the committees for setting up new campuses, including IIM Trichy, IIT Indore, and IIT Jodhpur. He coordinated the preparation of the detailed project report for setting up the six third generation IITs, those started in 2015-16. The IIT Tirupati campus that he has guided in setting up has won 18 awards for sustainability, health and safety, and exemplary performance. He is a member of the Empowered Committee for Industrial and International Collaborations set up by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. He serves as Vice Chairman, Board of Advisors of the Glass Academy, expert member on the Board of Management of Building Materials and Promotion Council, BMTPC. He was a founding member of the Institute for Lean Construction Excellence. He serves on the governing boards of academic institutions such as IISER Tirupati, NIT Tadepilagudam, IIT DM Kurnool, IIT Sri City, AIMS Mangalagiri, NID Vijayawada, IUCAA Pune, and RGUKT. He serves on boards of 5 companies. It is our proud privilege to have with us today such a distinguished personality with us for this fourth Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya Oration. We welcome you, sir, and I invite you for your oration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dean Professor Namit Gupta and the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dar, and the various faculty members at Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya and the students. I'm not sure how many students are there. Nowadays it's a big challenge to get students to attend these kinds of programs. At my institute, I struggle to get my students to come because we have what we call a distracted generation where they think that anytime they can, why should I come at this time? But I can always watch the video at any time later on whenever I feel like, maybe late at night and so on. But however, I'm very thank you. I feel honored and thankful to the management of SVVV for having me participate in this event. And the fact that on a Sunday afternoon, it so happens this year it falls on a Sunday. And I know many institutions are holding the event, either held it on last Friday or tomorrow, so that the faculty and the students are present to attend these events. But so I was wondering, who is the target audience I should be addressing? Is it the faculty or the students? But from the list of panelists and attendees I see, I'm guessing there are more faculty members than students who are on the audience here. So I'll probably tailor my talk a little bit more in that direction from that perspective. One caveat here, I'm sorry, I have a little bad throat. I've been traveling the last 4 days. I was in Chennai, then Delhi, attending the India Semiconductor Mission, Semicon, and then in Hyderabad yesterday, and then had to come back to Chennai for an event yesterday evening and reach Tirupati at 1 o'clock today morning. So this travel is catching up, and I have a very bad throat and cold. So if I'm coughing and puffing, please excuse me. And it so happens, it's very interesting. The video that was played earlier, which was probably made around 1960-61, it talked about him being a centenary, so it was probably made in 61 or 62. And in the video, they were talking about Musi River and the Usman Sagar, the dam that he built there for the drinking water supply scheme of Hyderabad. It so happens that yesterday I was in Hyderabad attending the IIT Madras Alumni Association event where I was on a panel, which was more on the startups. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, which was attended by a number of IIT directors. And I was traveling to the airport from the venue. And along with me was Professor Rajat Mona, the director of IIT Gandhinagar, former director of IIT Bhilai. And we were crossing the Musi River on the way to the airport. And it so happens I also have a house in Hyderabad, just next to the lake, just 500 meters from the dam. And I was telling him about this Musi River, and I was talking to him about how Visvesvaraya was involved in the setting up of the, creating that lake and the Musi River that as we passed over it. And it's so coincident that today we were seeing the video where Sri Visvesvaraya's feats, it was one of his major achievements, and how Hyderabad city today is still indebted to his visionary planning and execution that had happened so many years back. Must have been about 80, 90 years back. Now, things have changed quite a bit. Today, the area that of course, he was not just a civil engineer, though he started off as a civil engineer. He was a much more rounded engineer and as you have seen, his facet of looking at things gone from science to engineering to culture. And this is what is required. If you really need to be, putting things together, it is not just each of us working in our silos. and great visionary leaders like him are the people who could thread their paths across these multiple domains. Uh, and uh, however, however, this area, I'm being a civil engineer, I'm a little concerned and uh, worried about the way engineering is going in India. Being a core sector evangelist in the big changes that are happening, whether it's from the IT front, semiconductors front, and all that, is my concern about where the country is going from an engineering perspective. Uh, we uh, we here, recently we had these big floods in Bihar and Hyderabad and Vijayawada, right? We have huge number of floods, cities that have been inundated, and we were looking at bridges. They were in 2 weeks, about 8 or 9 bridges fell in Bihar, right? And other places. So this is so, and the structures that Sri Visvesvaraya designed and 130, 140 years back, 100 years back, at least, sorry, 100 years back, still stand and still serving their job, uh, their objectives. So what is it? Uh, what is it that has changed while we are making great strides in certain sectors like software and related areas in services sector? We are we're struggling on this, but at the same time, the huge amount of infrastructure projects that are being deployed. The national highway network that are being done, and the power projects, the telecommunication projects, and so on. And most institutions are shutting down their mechanical and civil engineering branches. Okay, or downsizing them considerably just to keep them surviving. So one of the things, first questions I ask, I keep getting invited to address faculty, students at various institutions either as a chief guest or some committee member. First question when I land up, I ask, how many seats do you have for computer science? How many seats do you have mechanical engineering? How many for chemical engineering? How many for civil engineering? And all of them scratch. They look away. They say, "Oh, okay, we have." I have been to institutions where there are 60 sections for computer science, and one section for civil and one section for mechanical, and those seats also not getting filled up. Okay, and I was also looking at your website to see how many students you have in your various fields, and it's probably the proportions are not very different. But then this is the demand supply situation. But the bigger concern that I have is whether we're creating this passion for engineering among the students that we are producing, right? Passion for engineering, of doing things with your hand, not everything needs to be done with your hand. Somehow we as Indians don't respect or don't value too much people who work with hands, right? We like to sit in front of a computer, do some intellectual work, and do not ready to pay the people who for that skill of delivering things, making things, and so on, designing things, and so on. So this is something that's been bothering me of late, and I've been talking about this at various forums. I've been talking to the ACT chairman, his vice chairman, and the secretary of higher education, and all these people about my concern. My concern for where is the engineering education in India going, and where is the how are we going to address the requirements of the country, right? Number one, we still say we have to build 50% of our infrastructure. My talk may sound a little worrisome and pessimistic, but I want to put it in the context. It's great that we're doing very good job on the software side and as a software sector, which is probably accounting for less than 10% of our economy. but creating a lot of jobs and creating a lot of wealth and a lot of things. That's fantastic. But all that point I'm making is it's not enough. We should do that. We should be a world leader in that. But that's not enough. That's the point I'm making. And whether we are producing the workforce and human resources for the other parts. Okay. So I will start with the infrastructure front. Infrastructure, which is what Sri Mokshagundam and Visvesvaraya created in this country in the early days. I remember seeing this cartoon, when we set up our missions to Chandrayaan and the Mangalyaan, so on. So this cartoon that came in one of the newspapers, which said, so this fellow is someone, and a foreigner is asking an Indian guy, how is it these guys are sending up all these things, but they can't make a good sidewalk or a good drainage in their cities, right? So the other person says, oh, this is not rocket science. So if it is rocket science, we can do it. But if we have to do something on the ground, very simple stuff, like building a good drain or a good sidewalk, we struggle, right? So my hats off really to people in the atomic energy, in the ISRO, for what they've done. At a fraction of this cost that the Americans or the Europeans spend for achieving the same objectives, right? But what I'm saying is we are doing great on that front, but on the basic stuff we are missing. And this comes back. So we were saying that we still have to build 50% of our infrastructure in this country. Whether it's roads, we have a huge roads program happening. We have a honorable Minister for Roads and Transport, Nitin Gadkari, from the front leading, and the rollout that we are having. I'm always concerned, how are we building all these roads? No one is joining civil engineering. And so we say we still have to build 50% of infrastructure, whether it's roads, ports, airports, housing, commercial facilities, water facilities, wastewater facilities, all these things. They say we still have a long way to come. We still don't have cities which can supply 24/7 water, water which you can drink off the tap, right? You go to any country in Europe or most countries in other advanced countries, you go ask the hotel guy, where is the water in my room? I can't, where is the water bottle? He'll say, just drink it off the tap, right? So we're not able to do that. Now, so if we have to build still 50% of our infrastructure, right? And we're building in a hurry. We're building in a great hurry, right? So much has to be deployed, which is also to some extent we see in the news of late, the Bombay projects and other things for the wrong reasons, saying something has cracked up, the roads have cracked up, or there's cracks have appeared, or some bridge has fallen, and all those things. My worry is, where are these? I've visited some leading private engineering colleges where there one student joined in civil engineering, some 6 students joined in mechanical engineering, and so on. So where are the engineers who are passionate about sitting down and doing design? And engineering is, I keep telling my students, if you're getting into this mechanical engineering, civil engineering, it is 80% road work. Doing designs is you get into codal requirements, detailing. You need a lot of patience. You need a lot of learning to do that. So are we imbibing that passion among our students to do this kind of work? The challenge has, so when I'm talking about infrastructure, I'm not only talking about civil infrastructure, I'm talking about power infrastructure, I'm talking about communication infrastructure, right? All these come under infrastructure, and what we now talk about is resilient infrastructure. We have, due to the climate change, we are having these extreme events. We are having heavy floods in areas which were earlier thought to be drought prone. We are having drought in areas which were said to be flood prone earlier. So all these extreme events are causing stress on the existing infrastructure that need to be resilient, as we talked about. Whether it's not only this, whether including the power infrastructure, communication infrastructure, and everything. So how are we going to address this? I found that even electrical engineering departments are being downsized across various institutions, right? Earlier, I know of colleges which you have, but they needed more sections. They'll have electrical and communication engineering. Then they have triple E, electrical and electronics engineering. Then they'll have EIE, electrical and instrumentation engineering, so on. But many places are shut down everything, they only ECE and electrical and communication engineering with number of sections downsized. So who is going to do all this thing for the country? Coming to manufacturing, the other thing, in fact, for IIT Tirupati, we have as colleague, as from myself, with my colleagues, my deans, and my senior colleagues, we have identified a few thrust areas for institute. And the thrust area that we're giving maximum impetus is for manufacturing, materials and manufacturing. Now, why materials and manufacturing? India as a country, we've not been great at manufacturing. We have, in fact, materials and manufacturing go together. Materials, you process materials, and you have to understand materials well if you're going to do manufacturing. And because of the geospatial shift that is happening, China being the major manufacturer of the world, and the COVID has taught us how, depending on, in terms of supply chains, depending on a few countries, I'll come to semiconductors, Taiwan being the major semiconductor manufacturer, and how the whole supply chains got disrupted, and also geopolitically, countries were shifting everything to China. Now, in the last 7-8 years, people have started shifting their manufacturing out of China, right? And we thought it was a great opportunity. India will get some of that shifting that is happening into India. But that's not happening. Very few companies have come to India. There are more companies going to Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand. They're coming to India, right? Companies are coming to India. I'm not saying they're not coming to India. They have come. Apple is shifting some of its manufacturing of its latest phones to India and so on. But this is just for manufacturing. This is using pair of hands to do the manufacturing. More I call screwdriver technology. We don't make the components. We don't, the IP related, all these things is not in India, right? So that's not happening. Why is it not happening? Once again, I keep talking to industry people, some of the industry leaders, and why would anyone want to shift to India? Or anyone come invest in a country for improving the manufacturing capacity? Would be for multiple reasons. One is the ease of doing business. How fast can I get my permits? Do I have to grease some palms to get my file moving? How many permits and licenses do I need to get? Do I need to get 100 plus of these things, or there's one single window where I can apply everything and get it? So there is one aspect. And on that front, we have all ease of doing business, rankings, different states. And any ranking, people know how to game. NIRF, how people game it. Any ranking system that you put in, people will game it. And not necessarily that thing. So one is ease of doing business. The other one is the incentives that you provide for moving. For example, semiconductor industry. I'll get a little more in detail in semiconductor industry. Government is now giving central government is giving 50% subsidy. Micron is setting up its plant. Tatas have set up their plant in Gujarat. They're almost getting 50% subsidy from the central government and 25% subsidy from the state government. 75% subsidy is being provided to get this industry back into India, to make semiconductor in India. So this is the kind of incentives that he provides. So one is ease of doing business. Second thing, incentive. Another one is the logistics. How easy is it for me to get my materials in? Today, supply chain is a big issue. And many of this manufacturing at high end, semiconductors or solar, battery technologies, all this require major supply chains, starting from where you're going to get your lithium from, cobalt from, nickel from, the mines across the world, where is the materials going to be processed, and how you're going to get it to your plants, which are actually making the final chips or the batteries and so on. So that is the logistics. But the fourth factor, many more factors, and just fourth factor, which all of us are involved in here. You as an institution, and I as an my institution, or the technical education ecosystem of the country and overall education system of the country, is to create the workforce, the manpower. And they say we don't get good engineers in the country, right? We're not able to find good engineers. Other day I was reading an article about Elon Musk, not Elon Musk, Thomas Cook, not Thomas Cook, what Cook, the Apple CEO, which Elon Musk also has agreed, as to saying why all of them go and manufacture in China, right? Why do they go manufacture in China? They said it's not just the cost. Cost was one aspect early days, but today the Chinese labor force cost is also, they say, caught up. We're not going there for the cost. It is for the trained manpower we get there. And Cook was saying in that article that if I have to get tooling engineers, if I have to do high-end semiconductors, high-end battery manufacturing, I need very good engineers who can do the tooling for the equipment that run it. These are all very sophisticated systems. You're talking about nanometer level depositing and all those things. You need very highly skilled workforce to do it. Technicians, engineers, and as you can see, again, the visionary leader that Visvesvaraya was, he gave his money to set up a polytechnic. Okay, in that video, they talked about him putting his money to set up a polytechnic. Now, that's a challenge in India. We have an inverted pyramid. We produce more engineers than polytechnic people and more polytechnic people than ITI people, right? Who really need to, so this is what I call an inverted pyramid. And if everyone is an engineer, who is going to run these plants, right? So they say there's a big challenge finding good people with, and they say the Indian technicians and the workforce, they're not very disciplined. Okay, everyone thinks. Problem in India is everyone thinks. You go to Japan or you go to China, engineers do their job of designing the systems and monitoring them and upgrading them. It is the foreman who will run the system, which is actually the polytechnic people who should be doing it, and the technicians who actually do the job, whether it's welding, whether it's soldering, whether it's running the plant, keeping track of how it does. So if I'm actually an engineer is doing his job, a proper job of design and of the system and the equipment and the processes, I probably need 4 or 5 technicians, supervisors to run that process. And for every technician, I probably need 7 to 10 operators, right? So Cook was saying in this article that if I go to China and I wanted to find good tooling engineers in US, I'll probably struggle to fill up this small seminar room if I pull up all the people. I go to China, I'll get 5 football fields. Now, to pull up 5 football packed people standing shoulder to shoulder in 5 football fields, I'll get them, right? With that kind of skill. I says that is what is taking us to China, not just the price arbitrage in terms of the lower cost of the labor and so on. So this is the challenge we have. How do we create people with this kind of skills? Now, coming to the semiconductor industry, as I told you, day yesterday, I was on Thursday, I was at the Semicon. Wednesday, Honorable Prime Minister had inaugurated that conference. And India is putting in about $10 billion into the semiconductor to start making chips in India. They say India accounts for 20% of global workforce in chip design. Once again, we're great at sitting at computers and doing designs, this kind of stuff. A lot of the international companies are setting up what they call the GCCs in India. Earlier, we used to call it outsourcing. Now they come up with more fancy name called GCC, Global Competence Centers. They're moving it, most of them moving them to India. High-end technical designs are being done. You take big companies like GE, Mercedes-Benz, all of them in Bangalore, Pune, Chennai, they're all setting up their global technical company where they do the design. So I understand 25% of the chips the world over are designed in India. 20% of the workforce that go to make chips are done in India, right? Are in India, but we don't make a single chip. We can't make a single chip. Maybe we make some chips, but we hardly have any presence in chip manufacturing, which the government, led by our honorable Prime Minister, is trying to, bring the chip semiconductor industry into India, giving a lot of these incentives. US is also trying to get back the chip manufacturing into US. They have the CHIPS Act, where they're putting something like $60 to $70 billion into research and giving subsidies to companies to set up, to get chip manufacturing back into the country, right? So all this is, so we are very good at creating engineers who will do the designs, the chip design, but we can't make chips, right? Because this involves, what is it, very strong, complex and technology intensive. They're both very complex and technology intensive in terms of manufacturing. And that's where jobs can be created. Now, we have another challenge that, and the investment is very high. In fact, other day I was with the honorable minister in our state for IT and manufacturing, and I was talking to him about how do we bring some of the semiconductor manufacturing into maybe the state here, where we are, because everything nowadays in Gujarat. And you know, the Tatas, which have set up the first factory in this, with the honorable Prime Minister inaugurated sometime in March, they have now gone to Taiwan and advertising for technicians and engineers to run their factory that they're setting in Gujarat. They have to go to Taiwan because they can't find people. Now, the advisor to the India Semiconductor Mission, Professor Rao Tumala, who is a professor at Georgia Tech, and he is now advising our honorable minister for METI and Ashwini Vaishnavji and the Secretary Krishnan and all these people. So Professor Rao Tumala, he is a former IBM engineer who set up, and this is a world authority on packaging, electronic packaging, and he's advising them. He's here every 3 months, spending 3 weeks, and I happen to know him quite well. He's visited my institute a couple of times. And again on Thursday, he was conducting a 4-hour workshop where we were discussing how to bring industry, academia together to do a lot of this semiconductor manufacturing in India. And he keeps going around saying, who is required in the semiconductor manufacturing industry, right? I'm talking about manufacturing. I'm not talking about chip design. I'm talking about manufacturing. He says the maximum number of engineers are required for that is chemical engineers. Second biggest group of engineers are required are material science engineers, and the third are mechanical engineers, right? Less than 20% of the engineers required in semiconductor manufacturing are electrical engineers. Because if you do chip design, they're all mostly there. But on the manufacturing front, less than 20% are electrical engineers. But basically, mostly who we require now, how many institutes in India offer chemical engineers? And how many people, that's why they're having to go to Taiwan to start bringing people in from there to do this, run these plants. So this is where I feel we need to address. And one is the short-term thing is the market demand, right? You go and look at the websites of any college, they'll say package. My students got some packages. They got a package. I went and visited your website also. You also very advertised the student got 48 lakh package. The students got 24 lakh package. And so on, right? That's how colleges advertise their success of their students in terms of packages. Now, this is sending to me, this is a signal that is sending to this generation that what matters is package. Is it a passion for engineering and doing things, or is it the package? So the parents and the kids are being drilled down from the parent side and again from the institution side. What is most important is package, right? And the starting packages, and unfortunately what has happening is the core sector, whether it is infrastructure or whether it is manufacturing, core sector doesn't pay very high in the starting salaries, right? I'm sure you'll not put a single of your mechanical engineering students package or your civil engineering student package on your website. You'll put your someone who's got some job in Microsoft or this, and so on. So the signal we're sending to all the kids and the parents, and most sad thing. To last month, I was going to from Tirupati to Delhi to attend the Energy Storage Week, India Energy Storage Week. Now, storage is becoming a big issue. Batteries, that you various kinds of batteries and other, whether it's thermal storage, the same. So there's a whole week of the same. And at IIT Tirupati, we are again trying to set up a major center for energy storage, especially batteries and hydrogen. So the airport, the security guard who checks your ID card before you go into the airport, he looked at my ID card and said, "Oh, you're a director of IIT." And my son has got 5,000, 5,200 some rank in advanced JE. Now, this is a security guard who is just, he's not the CIS of security guard. He's a local guy, local security guard, who is probably being paid 7 or 8,000 rupees a month or whatever. He said, my son got into an 5,000 thing, and he's getting material science and engineering at IIT Kanpur. Okay, I said, great, fantastic. I'm going for a conference on energy storage, which is mostly material science, right? I said, you should send. He said, no, sir. Everyone is telling me, don't send him to IIT Kanpur for material science. Please send him for which maybe some NIT he'll get computer science. So please send him to computer science at one of the NITs and don't send him to IIT Kanpur. I said, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. So take my word, please send him to a Kanpur. Okay. One thing is the kind of exposure he gets. Second thing is that's a long-term area that he can excel. Interestingly, last week I was again at the airport, going to Delhi. I end up going to Delhi almost every other week. And that same security guard was there. I asked him, what did happen to your son? Where did he join? He said, sir, he's gone to NIT Trichy for computer science. Okay. I said, he said, sir, everyone I talked to other than you told only send for computer science, don't send for any other, even if it's an IIT. Okay. So this is what is worrying me. This is what is worrying me, that bright kids are all AI, ML, obviously changing the whole spectrum of things, the whole environment. And it is, and data science, this is all a reality that all of us have to work with, whichever domain, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's fintech, whether it's edutech, whether whatever tech, agri-tech, everything, AML is definitely playing a big role in the thing. But if you just do that, only the AML end of it, but without the domain expertise, at the end of the day, it has to build on a domain expertise. If it is agtech or unless you understand the plant, how do you do agtech, right? You need to understand the plant botany, roots, stem, leaves, flowering, fruits. Unless you understand that, what will you do with your AI ML, without knowing the domain? So this is where I think we have a big challenge as a country. And we need to address this in a much more bigger picture thing. Today's market demand, we definitely need to address that. We need more numbers there. We don't need as many numbers here in the core, right? I'm also talking to a lot of industry people saying you need to pay better in the core sector, but they have a structural problem. Being legacy institutions, if I have to pay this young kid more, what happens to all these people who have been working with me 20, 30 years? If I have to pay them all more, then whether my product will finally be, market competitive. These are all, but then we need to look at it from a productivity point of view. How do I improve my productivity and so on? So this is the to me, a major challenge that we have that we need to address. And this is where the science, technology, and innovation comes into strong play. How do we harness science, technology, and innovation to make breakthroughs, create jobs, and accelerate sustainable development? Today, all of us are faced with the issue of climate change and sustainability. So how do we harness it? And are we doing the science and technology part of it? We may be doing the manufacturing to some extent part of it, Now we are working very closely. As last 4 5 months, I've been studying the battery storage issue quite intensely. I'm a civil engineer, but as a head of institute, I have to see where I'm positioned, which is the areas we could excel in, so on. And we're in a city where the second largest manufacturing battery manufacturing company is in India, Amar Raja, and the number of companies that are setting up this thing. Coming to batteries. Now, today we have the ACC batteries, as we call it. ACC stands for Advanced Chemistry Cells. Also, there are also advanced carbon composites they use, but I'm talking in the context of advanced chemistry cells, whether it's lithium ion or sodium ion batteries that we need to make. And today, if you're talking about EVs, electric vehicles, right? A major part of my EV, electric vehicle, is the battery cost. Almost 40% of my vehicle cost is battery, right? And then the issue is becoming the range of the battery, how long it lasts, what is this environmental impact. We talked about the circular economy, what happens to this, because there's a lot of rare earth materials going into it, whether it's lithium or cobalt or nickel. And again, it's a big geopolitical game that is there in how do you source this. For example, China is going to Africa and South America and buying up all these rare earth material sources. And then how are we going to handle it? You know, India doesn't make a single cell, battery cell. We import 100% of our cells. We are only packaging the cells. I'm talking about lithium ion, and I'm not talking about lead acid battery thing. I'm talking about the advanced chemistry, sodium ion, lithium ion, and so many. And that chemistry is changing so fast, right? The new chemistry is coming in. How do I make it more efficient? Now we're talking about a 1,000,000-mile battery, a battery that will last 1,000,000 miles, which means it will last you for 15, 20 years. So from an environmental impact point of view, you're able to put it to use. All this requires advanced chemistry, material science. You need very strong people in physics, chemistry, material science, chemical engineering who are able to advance this. So what is happening if you're going to be a major player in the EV market, I need to have strong battery technology. If I have to have strong battery technology, we don't make a single cell in this country. We import all our cells. 77% of the cells that are going to our advanced batteries are imported from China, balance from other countries like Korea and a few other countries. And now, of course, some of the Indian companies are like Exide and Amar Raja and JSW and Ola have setting up what they call the gigafactories. Gigafactories are ones that make gigawatt-hour capacity batteries in a year, and many of them are under the process. Both for semiconductors and the batteries, they have the PLI schemes, performance-linked incentives, where the government will give you major subsidies if you're meeting certain performance levels. And many of them are setting up their factories, but where is the technology coming from? They're all going and buying the machinery and equipment, everything from either China or to some extent Korea or Germany. Equipment comes here and they get trained by those people coming in. There are a lot of visa problems now for the Chinese people to come and train these people. They get the equipment, they don't know how to use it. But we are not making any breakthrough technologies. We are not developing those technologies. We are only manufacturing it by getting the technology, getting trained how to use the equipment and making those cells. But if you really want to make an impact, you have to develop the technologies. Now that is something that again we have. And again, I was studying this whole ecosystem. I have understood that I know a lot of my colleagues across IITs and IISc and some of the other institutions who do research are doing research in battery. So it's great work under at gram level. You say it's got better throughput or it's got better density or better output. You show it in the lab, you will publish papers saying that, but what industry wants is that scaling up to 100 kilogram level or tons level. Okay. Now, I'm told that almost 70 to 80% of these technologies fail when you have to scale up. Okay. On the lab, you can do something and show. You may make up to button cell level. But then in batteries, we're talking about you do it in cylindrical or you do pouch or you do prismoidal thing, and where you need to make tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of cells a day. Once you get to that, most of these technologies. So we are talking about, we talked today about TRL 1 to 9, technology readiness levels, TRL 1 to 9, and we in the academic thing, we go maximum up to 3. Then the industry for its manufacturing wants the technology TRL 7 to 9. Now, what happens 3 to 6, 3 to 7 is what they call the valley of death now. Most technologies die there at that stage. They're not able to scale to take it into manufacturing, getting into TRL. Of course, there are now you have various scales for manufacturability levels and so on. So this is where we have a challenge. We are only, though we are starting to make cells, probably we'll start making cells in another year, 2 years in these big factories that are being set up, but we are not developing the technology. We're only buying technology, bringing it and use, people are being trained to operate this equipment to make it. Okay. So these are the challenges we have. So I just took the example of energy storage. I took the example of semiconductors. And there's so many other technologies that we have now talked about: AI, big data, IoT, blockchain, 3D printing. Additive manufacturing is becoming a major area of whether, including in construction. We do about 3D printed structures. One thing we have been doing in our campus as we're building it, doing a lot of technology demonstrations. We have done 3D printed bus shelters, 3D printed concrete bus shelters in our campus. We have used a lot of sustainable materials and so on. So whether it's 3D printing, robotics, yesterday I was visiting this young company which is making robots for the industry, and drone technology, whether it is for agriculture, disaster management, infrastructure monitoring, crime monitoring, so on, various kinds of drone technologies, gene editing, right, biotechnology related areas, 5G, 6G communication technologies, nanotechnologies, various alternate energy, solar PV, so on. So many exciting areas that are there for people to work in. And all this require today, if I'm talking about creating new molecules, right? Because if you're talking, coming back to the battery technology and all these things, solar and so on, a lot of rare earth materials are used. And they're available in very limited quantities across the globe, whether it's lithium or cobalt or nickel and all these things. So how do I engineer molecules that will give me similar properties as these rare earth materials using more common material like sodium and so on, right? So this requires a lot more data analytics, requires using AI tools, requires AI ML technology and so on. So today, all our engineering students, whether it's a civil, mechanical, electrical, chemical, all of them need to have an exposure to these tools. AI, you cannot say anything, but the point of my theme of my talk today is the fundamental conceptual technology areas also need to be nurtured. Okay, that is the message I've been trying to get across. AML, definitely a few computer science students who are at the cutting edge, pushing the boundaries of AML, so on, at a research end, at a development end. They are required. There are a lot more people required in large numbers to implement these things. This transformation, these companies are happening. We need to address that sector. But it cannot be at the cost of the core sector. Otherwise, again, we will have to start bringing in people from other countries, from Africa and other countries, to do our basic work. Like migrant, today, since I am in the construction domain, I study the industry very closely. I'm being a construction engineering and management person. 95% of the workers, construction workers in AP or Tamil Nadu or Kerala or Karnataka or Maharashtra, they're all migrant workers, right? Coming from Jharkhand and Bihar and West Bengal and Orissa and Chhattisgarh and so on. But very soon, where things are going, even for doing the basic things, we may have to start bringing people from other countries. Okay, unless we have strong thing, and the case I told you about for the semiconductor factories, they have to go to Taiwan to advertise. for people to come in. So there is a lot of these opportunities that are there right now. And the other strong ecosystem that's developing, which I think all of us, the innovation and the startup ecosystem, all institutions, now it's a great movement in the country on the startup ecosystem. In fact, yesterday, as I told you, I was at the IIT Madras alumni event, and this was mostly focused on the startup environment and how do we nurture them and so on. IIT Madras has been being my base institute, my home institute. The research park that we created at IIT Madras, the biggest academic research park in the country, about 1.3 million square feet. I was with Ashok Jinwala, who drives that yesterday, again in Hyderabad. He was also at the meeting. And I was the chairman of the committee to build it. Okay. Now we have about nearly 200 companies which have come and co-located there. A lot of very strong ecosystem that's been developed, starting from, we have what we call C5, Center for Innovation, which was funded initially by alumni, but it's grown in thing where the students use that facility to create some ideas. Then you take it to a next stage, then you take it to a startup, the whole value chain. Many institutions have been set in place which will nurture these kids, starting from going and tinkering with things, creating tinkering labs for students to go and experiment with. And a lot of the startups, of course, we talk about IT-based startups or app-based startups, which many of the institutions, those are easy. All that I need to get them a good computer and a few electronic gadgets to collect data. That's very simple. But if you have to get deep tech startups, right? And we're talking about cells and rockets, like the recently launched rocket, the first major private rocket was 3D printed, came out of a student-based startup with the professor at IIT Madras, right? Agricool, thing that was recently launched. So if you have to create that, we need to create many mechanisms, and there is a strong push for the startup ecosystem. So that would be a basis for a lot of course, it's also fraught with a lot of risks involved. The students should be given enough support on IP-based issues, on legal issues, on financing issues, on how to manage their projects, relationship between the developers and all those things. Those are all also there. But a lot of these opportunities, a lot of excitement in the country that we need to channelize. But the last election, this was an issue, and this is an issue that's been talked about greatly, is about the employability of our graduates. A lot of companies are saying we are producing large number of graduates, about 1.2 million to 1.4 million engineering graduates are coming out every year. And they're on one side, and they're not finding jobs. They're not able to get jobs. On the other side, the industry is saying we're not able to find good people to employ them. Only yesterday on the flight, I was reading this Team Lee's report on employability. So the industry says many of these kids don't know how to work in the industry. They don't have good communication skills. They don't have good ability to work in teams. They don't have adequate technical. Some of them say, okay, all the technical skills, some of them are okay, but they're not able to work in our organizations because of the lack of the skills. These are things that institutions also need to nurture as a part of their bringing up these kids if they have to become. So they are talking about creating internships. Now the industry is asking for long-term internships, so that they come prepared when they join them. So how do we enable our curriculums? Example, at IIT Tirupati, now we have enabled 6 months internships in our curriculum. Earlier, we were only permitting 2 months internships because this is what the industry is demanding. So understanding what are the industry requirements in terms of the employability of the kids who are going in. So these are all issues that we need to address. So these are exciting times, a lot of opportunities, but a lot of fundamental things to be fixed if we are going to make an impact as a country. So I can go on this issue. I will stop here on an optimistic note that the great opportunities are there, but are we preparing our kids to exploit these opportunities? Are we creating the curriculum? Are we creating the framework? Are we creating the environment that they can benefit from this. Of course, we keep talking about a demographic dividend. We are the country with the highest young population in the world, where the rest of the world is aging. We have this young population. Are we and 10 years back, we talked about the big advantage we had of this demographic dividend. But have we benefited from this demographic dividend? There's a lot of people now expressing doubts that we're missing out because our population will also start aging in the next 20 years. So if we don't prepare our workforce to address this, we'll be facing major social challenges, social and political challenges. So great opportunity there, great challenges there. I've not got into environment, climate change, sustainability issues. Now that's a big, huge opportunity from a green technologies perspective that we have, that we could be working on. And that's a sector that's going to be booming, and so on. So it was a little bit of a ranting. This is what, if I'm spending sleepless nights, it's because of these issues that are we producing right as institutions? Are we producing right workforce, right? And if so, what needs to be done? Things are changing so fast. Knowledge is exploding. They say every 3 years or 4 years, knowledge is doubling. I've not got into research aspects and so on. That's a whole topic I can talk again. Getting into how much that we're not spending adequate on research. Indian industry is not spending on research. That's a totally different issue that we could also talk about. But I wanted, since the Vice Chancellor is here, the top management of the institution is here, is to take a longer term view on the kinds of people we produce, and not just immediate market requirement in terms of pay packages and in terms of where they get picked up immediately. Thank you very much, and I'll be glad to have a dialogue with some of you over the next 10-15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us your encouraging and thought provoking words. Really, sir, I am very much overwhelmed to hear from you. And the examples that you have shared and the in depth analysis that you have let us inspired, showing us not just where the industry stands today, and but also the exciting potential that lies ahead in the core engineering sector. Thank you so much, sir. I would ask the people here if they have any queries or questions, they can ask the sir.
Dr. Sampath, you have a question?
Yes, sir. By all means. Yeah, Dr. K. N. Satyanarayana. Thank you very much for giving us a lot of insight over the engineering aspects. I have two questions. See, we are in way back in 1980s, where our curriculum and design doesn't favor any internship activities. And now there are a lot of internship, and even IIT is also permitting 2 months internship. Whether it can facilitate our present civil engineers to go for prospective jobs. And now we can see Switzerland, New Zealand, Canada are the countries where a lot of resources are available for bright civil engineering jobs. How our country is not able to get that?
Yeah, I think, see, let's look at it from two angles. One is from the industry's angle, another one is from the student's angle, the institution's angle. From the student's angle, internship gives an opportunity for them to go and understand, because in the coursework we teach, since I'll put it in the context of civil engineering, since that's the domain that I have expertise in, and you also asked the question in that domain. One is we teach mostly design in our courses, whether it's in geotechnical engineering or in structural engineering or in water resources or environmental and so on. But actually what happens in an organization, in how a design is done and so on, that kind of exposure is given to the students, right? So from a student's perspective, but from an industry perspective, now how do I employ a person? is I typically go for campus placement. I interview, give some test, I interview the student over 10 minutes or 20 minutes and take a decision. But internship gives me an opportunity to assess the student over a 2-month period or a 4-month period, right? Uh, but unfortunately, most industry in India has no proper framework or system in place to train these people or get them excited about joining. Very often they put away the kids. They go for internship. They'll say, "Oh, Professor Sampath has asked me to take this student, so I will give him an opportunity." And the guy comes and say, "Go watch that concrete being poured in the hot sun for days together, or go to the library there, read some professional magazine or journal. Don't We're all busy. Don't bother us too much, right?" And the student comes back with the impression, "Oh, if I get into this, all that I'm going to sit and do day in and day out, watch concrete being poured," or not the exciting thing of what goes into a whole design and structure and so on. So, so I think this has to be curated carefully in these internships. Very often, I find that especially manufacturing industry, and they don't give them enough adequate support, financial support for that. You take IT companies, they give, some of this Microsoft and IBM, these kind of companies give 1 lakh or even to 1.5 lakhs during the every month for during the internship period. Their whole objective is to grab these kids and give them placement opportunities. So other companies don't think they have a very strategy. Whereas the core sector companies will treat these guys with great other headache. I have things to do. Why this kid? Why should I be wasting my time with this kid and so on? So this should be properly curated and properly done. Since you asked in the context of civil engineering, a civil engineering such wide areas, we teach them all the way from transportation planning to environmental engineering, which is chemistry and biology oriented, to structural engineering, which is more engineering mechanics, strength of materials perspective, to materials. So such a wide area, and it's impossible for a kid who comes out with a undergraduate degree to be specialist in any of these areas. They're quite generalist. So if they're okay to go in for a construction kind of thing, overseeing implementation, so on, but if you have to get into design, in civil engineering today, it's required to get a master's, right? You have to specialize at your master's level, either as a structural engineer or a geotechnical engineer or environmental engineer or a transportation engineer, and so on. And now we also masters in construction engineering management, where we teach them project management skills and technology skills and so on. So, so there is a great, in my institute, for example, none of my kids go for a civil engineering job after their BTech, but 100% of my MTech students have been placed. Okay. Unfortunately, what is happening in the core sector, whether it's civil or whether it's infrastructure or in manufacturing, starting salaries are low. But I've been studying this issue quite a bit. If you stick on, if you learn, go through a little bit of hardship for the first 5 to 7 years, within 7 to 10 years, you catch up with the IT kind of job salaries. And if you really continue, in 20 years, you are definitely a leader. If you're learning and if you're really doing well, you outstrip an IT. In the IT sector, after 10 years, they're not wanted in the industry, right? Because the salaries are the same. They want fresh blood. They are looking at ways how to ease these guys out after 10 to 15 years. Only a few exceptional guys who are doing cutting edge computer science kind of thing or cutting edge thing or get into key management roles. Maybe 10% of the people are the people who make it all the way to the top. The other 80, 90% have to fall to the wayside after the glamorous 10, 15 years initial nice computer jobs and so on. They are not the same. But for a 21-year-old kid saying that you have to go through the hardship for 5 to 10 years before you're going to see the fruits, it's not much of a selling the thing for a 21-year-old kid. These are the challenges that we have. The core sector is still not paying. Unless they start paying, it's going to be difficult motivating of kids. Think this market correction, I don't know how long it's going to take. Last 20 years, people have been telling, when I did my engineering 101, I mean, economics 101, you talk about demand, supply. Once there's more demand and there's not enough supply, things are to go up, but that's not happening in the core sector. So it's a very complex problem. studied that a little bit, but there are opportunities, as you said, if you go international. Uh, but my reading of the situation is, in civil engineering, you need to do a master's if you're going to be more on the design or the cutting edge thing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. One more question. China occupies the major resources of civil engineering. See, I had been in abroad. We have seen a lot of equipments of the Chinese. They were undertaking the roadway engineering and highway engineering projects. We have not seen such a sophisticated equipments. Where it goes wrong in India? Because people, we are sending it to internship and they are again learning the old system, old infrastructure, machinery equipments, which is not going to be of any use. Suppose we consider the present economy and present. I have seen some of the equipments where they are using it for road laying. I have not seen it at all in my past 40 years. So the machine operators or the civil engineers who are working in the construction, in airport or roadway or all, they are not seen anything in India. Then how this can develop? Where we are now?
So I don't completely agree with that observation. See, one thing is, if you're talking about equipment manufacturing, earlier, if you take, let's take the concrete equipment companies like Swingstetter, Postmeister, right? All these are the major German concrete equipment manufacturing companies. All of them have been brought over by the Chinese. Okay, now the Chinese own all this big equipment manufacturing German companies and the Swiss companies, and quite a few of them. And also the Chinese companies like Zoomlin, all these companies are starting to flood the Indian market with their equipment. So there is a big change that is happening. I'll tell you, in 2005, I went to China. I had a joint project with the university in Germany, in UK, and China, and here, and with a collaborator. So for the project workshop, I had gone there. This was before the Olympics. I was watching, since I teach also construction equipment, I was watching the construction that was happening very closely. And in my 4 days, 3 or 4 days I was there, must have been seen thousands and thousands of tower cranes. Thousands and thousands of tower cranes. Every street corner tower crane. And they used to say the national bird, for example, national bird of when Dubai was in boom in the late 1990s, they used to call the tower crane as the national bird of Dubai. Then I came back and I went around Chennai city looking at how many tower cranes can I see. And I saw 2 or 3 tower cranes. Okay, I'm saying thousands of tower cranes in China, 2 or 3. But yesterday, as I told you, I was in Hyderabad. Again, I made the same observation to Professor Rajat Mona, the IIT Gandhinagar director, saying that look at the number of tower cranes in India. Every building has 4 or 5 tower cranes associated with it. Every building has this concrete pumping equipment, right? And my ride from the hotel in Hyderabad to the airport, I must have seen about 100 tower cranes in Hyderabad. My own construction site in IIT Tirupati, I had 10 tower cranes on my site, right? We had the boom placers, concrete boom placers. So I think there's a big transformation that has happened in India in terms of the equipment utilization and so on. But the unfortunate thing in India is we still don't pay our equipment operators or our technicians. And unless we do that, if you go to US or you go to Europe, a top equipment operator, at the end of the day, he is the person who is getting the income for the industry, for the company, because only with they produce, I can bill. Management and engineers are overhead, really, right? So we don't pay based on productivity. We pay, so an equipment operator, a complex equipment operator in US, he will probably get 70 to even sometimes as close as the salary of the project manager. In India, the ratio between the top class equipment operator and the project manager salary will be 3 to 4 times different, right? Even more. So unless we fix this problem of paying people who actually do things, That's why I said polytechnics and the ITIs. We have failed in our ITI system. We have failed in our polytechnic system. Unless they are valued, we are not going to be able to do a good construction, or we are not going to be able to do good manufacturing. And they should be paid. And they should be in the society valued as much as a good engineer.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Mandal, you have any question?
I was having just one question in mind, sir. Professor Satyanarayana.
Yeah.
Today, we have a very awkward situation. In our times, we used to have, traditional engineering functions such as, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, etc. in high demand. In fact, electronics and telecommunication used to be in great demand those days. The preference for students seems to have shifted from these to purely see computer science and information technology areas. Now, what curriculum modification or course structure redesign or engineering can be done to make them more attractive for the students, particularly from their career point of view? Is it that these things are losing sign because things are becoming more and more multidisciplinary and not so specialized and oriented?
Yeah, see, today things are, in fact, in my bullets I put here for my talk today, which I missed on since you brought it up now, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary way of looking at things. Today, you cannot look at ourselves being just a hardcore only structural engineer or a mechanical design person and so on. Things are so interdisciplinary. I take the example of buildings, right? Again, this is because this is an area I know inside out. I'm using that, but it is applicable across other sectors also. When I take the example of my building sciences block at IIT Madras, which was built in 1962, 63 period. And those days when we built it, which we still very much functional, doing very well, 70% of my cost was the structure. When I say structure, I mean the foundation and the columns and beams and the walls and so on. And services and finishes was only 30%. I'm talking when I was finishing the flooring I'm using, the painting I'm putting in, the plumbing, the electric. I used to probably have an occasional fan in the room. Toilet you went, you had one tap in one corner and a little bit, hardly any plumbing. You whitewashed your walls, right? So services and finishes accounted for 30% of the cost. And 70% was the building structure cost. Today, if I build a new building, whether it's a good commercial complex or an IT building or even my institutional building, it's the other way around. 70% of my cost is finishes and services. Only 30% of the cost is structure. Okay, I'm talking about the first cost. 30% of the cost is structure, and 70% is finish. I put granite or I put marble, and then I do high-class painting. I put glass on the exterior. I have to talk about networking systems in the building. I have to talk about HVAC systems in the buildings, which is mechanical engineering, networking, electrical engineering. I should have firefighting systems. I should have security systems, right? All these things go in and look at the kinds of the fittings I put in. So I still don't teach my curriculum that 70% cost. I still continue to teach my core design, which of course that is very important. Building has to stand at the end of the day. If you don't have that core thing, you're not going to be able to sing. But that's not enough. What I'm saying is, in today's context, that is not enough anymore. Today I put in sensors, IoT-based sensors to track energy consumption. And if I take a life cycle cost, so let me say building is I'm going to use it for 50 years as a horizon. You know, the biggest cost element of my life cycle of the building is energy. The power consumption and energy. Biggest cost element is energy. Okay. And if I build my building properly, structure properly, minimal maintenance is required, but all my finishes and services have to be replicated number of times. My HVAC system's life is probably 12 to 15 years. So I had to replace it. It's becoming more sophisticated, more energy efficient, and so on. My flooring I have to change every 10 to 12, 15 years. My painting I will do every 6 to 7 years. If I do all this, my structure cost comes down to less than 10%. And your biggest cost element is energy. So today we talk about green buildings, we talk about all those things. Are we teaching all this? Right? Now, and then we're getting into analyzing the data. Now you put IoT systems in the thing to track your energy consumption, your light levels in the house, when to turn on things, all this. A lot of data is generated. Some data analytics, I should understand how to use this, all this. So things are much more multidisciplinary. We need to be very difficult, say within 4 years, I'm going to teach everything. You cannot teach everything, but you bring in much more flexibility in the curriculum. Leave it to the students to pick some core. Suppose I'm doing certain core things, I have to make sure that they have understood how a structure behaves, what needs to be done, basic design has to be done. But if I have to have a good, strong structural engineer, they have to do a master's, to do advanced courses. But I should give them exposure to energy. I should give them exposure to sustainable materials. I should give them exposure from a circular economy point of view. How do I design from a perspective of? So when I used to talk, when I started learning my construction management core thing, we used to talk about 3 parameters based on which I assess the success of a project: time, cost, quality. Right? I have to finish the project on time. It has to be on budget, and it should be the required quantity. Along the way, in the 80s and so on, people started bringing safety into the thing, that it should be not only time, cost, quality, but you should build the structure in a safe way, not people dying. When they built the railroads in Britain in the 1850s and 60s, apparently 3 to 4 people died for every kilometer they built. Okay, that's unacceptable today. My project in IIT Tirupati has been rated the best site in the country for health and safety. We got 10 awards. We got the British Safety Award. We had 18.3 million man-hours of incident-free construction, right? We've been rated the best site in the country for health and safety. So health and safety is becoming. But now, when I talk in the last 7, 8 years, when I start talking about how do I assess the success of a project, I talk about sustainability. Am I building in a sustainable way, right? Materials I'm using, the processes I'm following, C&D waste management. One of the areas that they said I looked at is C&D waste management, so on. Can I reuse the material? Can I teach my students at the design stage itself to think about what will happen to the building 50 years down the line when I dismantle it? Can I reuse that components for further thing? So these are the kinds of things we need to bring in terms of teaching our students.
One last question can come from Dr. Namit Gupta.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Satnarayan. It was a wonderful talk. But now, just you mentioned that you were there in Delhi for Semicon 2024. So much has been, much talks have been going on regarding the semiconductor industry coming up very largely in our country. So, do you really think that this is really a sector where India should be looking forward to, or it is just a bubble which has come up?
Well, see, it is definitely we have to have expertise in this area, right? We have seen during the COVID period about how suddenly all vehicle manufacturers today, so many chips go into making a thing. People had to cut down the production by 40% because they couldn't get chips. There was short supply of chips. Most of the chips are made in Taiwan. Tomorrow, China invades Taiwan and says, no more supply to other countries, or they control the whole market and jack up the price, right? So we have to have the expertise in the area. You cannot say that you just can't go just by the economics today. The price is the same. So we have to invest in. We have to have the expertise. Maybe to scale, of course. See, when you're talking about chips, India is the second largest. I have some data here. We're the second largest importer of chips in the world. Okay, we're the second largest, and there's been a 92% increase in imports of chips in the last 3 years. 92% increase. Okay, and the consumption is $80 billion. the chips consumption in India, and it is expected to go to $110 billion by 2030. Now, it's a huge, huge this thing. So with, are we going to say all the chips will import from Taiwan and China, and we'll just put things together, fix the chips in the boards and package them and sell them, right? We are at their mercy. Tomorrow, if they decide to say we'll control the whole thing, so we have no other option but to have the expertise. Now, at what scale do we do it? The Prime Minister is talking about 10% of the chips in the world should be made in India. Whether we're going to get to there, but I think we should have the basic capability. Now, what happened to US? What happened to US? They were the people who set up the fab industry, Intels and the global foundries and the IBMs, set up their chips manufacturing capability in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and then everything moved out, right? Now they're bringing it back. The CHIPS Act, $70 billion, $60 billion, so they're putting in to get that capability back into the country, right? Now they're having difficulty finding people who can construct their factories which can make this. They say that skill is not there in the country anymore. So now so this is all lessons we have learned. Having learned the lesson, we can't sing. But what scale are we going? 10% of the world, can we do it, or at least can we take care of 10% of our own supply within the country, right? So to me, it appears that it is not a thing of whether we should. The other challenge, of course, today's big challenge is the employment, creation of employment. These things are very sophisticated and automated systems, so they don't create so much employment. Of course, they're saying that every job in the chip in that sophisticated thing creates another some 5 to 7 jobs outside in the associated industries, right? So one of the challenges, that debate that's going on is the huge investment that is going in doesn't create proportionate employment. But from a geopolitical perspective and from a technical perspective, you have to have the capability.
Thank you, sir. Anjali ma'am.
The underlying is that, as I agree with you, one of the concerns for most of the engineering colleges in India today is to fill up the intake. They are not able to, in many cases, they are not able to fill up even 50% of the approved intake, particularly in the core engineering areas. That is a big concern. Then the question arises, is it because engineering, particularly core engineering branches, have lost the appeal for the youngsters, and most of them are, in fact, I would say every second student wants to go for computer science engineering.
Not every second student, 90%.
Yes. So this is the big concern.
Yeah.
We go for only one branch. At the same time, our NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, advocates that educational institutions should work closely with industry. We cannot work in silos. So we need to understand the needs of the industry. At the same time, design the curriculum and syllabus. Secondly, we need to focus more on employability than placement. If employability factor improves, placements will in any way happen. This is what I think. And other institutions across the country, institutions need to follow this advocacy of national education policy. Focus on employability. That is very important. That has become very essential now. Thank you very much, Professor Satyanarayana. It was great to listen to you. Now, I would request Master of Ceremony to take the program forward.
Okay, sir. As we conclude our today's program, I would invite Dr. Anand Babu, Head of Civil Engineering Department, to present the words of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. The engineer has been and is a maker of history, as Sir Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya says. A very good afternoon and happy Engineers Day to all. Respected Chief Guest, Dr. K.N. Satyanarayana, Director IIT Tirupati, Sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Upendra Sir, Coordinator of the event Dr. Namit Gupta Sir, Deans of the various departments, directors of various constituent institutes, coordinators, heads of the departments, esteemed faculty, and dear students. Today, we gather to celebrate Engineers Day, a momentous occasion to honor the extraordinary contributions of Bharat Ratna Sir M. Visvesvaraya and all the engineers who are shaping our world. This day provides us with an opportunity to reflect on the vital role engineering plays in advancing society and to express our gratitude to the brilliant minds behind the innovations that drive progress. I express my gratitude to the chief guest of today's occasion, Dr. K. N. Satyanarayana, Director IIT Tirupati, for gracing the occasion and enlightening us with his immense knowledge. Sir, we are greatly experienced the great expertise of yours in the field of engineering and science. I would like to express my sincere thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Dr. Upendra Sir, for his continuous motivation and constant help in organizing such a memorable celebration. I would like to express my thanks to the coordinator of the event, Dr. Namit Gupta, Dean Faculty of Engineering and Architecture, and Director SVITS for his tireless efforts in celebrating this auspicious occasion. To our dedicated faculty, thank you for your unwavering commitment to nurturing the next generation of engineers. Your passion for teaching, your dedication to research, and your mentorship are the cornerstones of our success. Your guidance not only imparts knowledge but also inspires curiosity and fosters the problem solving skills that are essential for addressing the complex challenges of our time. Our students, your enthusiasm and perseverance are the heartbeat of our engineering community. Your innovative ideas and hard work are a testament to the bright future of engineering. As you embark on your journey, remember that you are the part of a legacy of innovation and excellence. Your contributions will shape the future in ways we can only imagine. As we celebrate Engineers Day today, let us also acknowledge the collaborative spirit that defines our field. Engineering is not just about individual achievements, it is about working together, sharing knowledge, and pushing boundaries to achieve common goals. Thank you all for being part of this remarkable journey. Your efforts make a significant difference, and together we continue to build a better world through engineering. Happy Engineers Day once again to all of you. Thank you and have a great day and a good day. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Finally, let us come together to honor our nation with the singing of the national anthem. I would request all to please rise at your places. AV team, please play the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you very much, Professor Satyanarayan.
Thank you all. We sincerely appreciate your presence today as we come together to recognize and celebrate the inspiring life and accomplishments of Sir Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya. On behalf of the organizing team, I extend our deepest gratitude to everyone present here. Wishing you all a very happy Engineers Day. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Satyanarayan sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll take leave.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.